Hello guys and welcome to my review of the patch notes for the Morrowind patch 3.0.0 300. It's like an army in itself. It's already worrying. We're going to be looking through the notes. I'm going to be skipping through bits that are more relevant to me. But I'll cover as much of notes as I physically can. And I'm going to be discussing at the same time some theory crafting, just instant theory crafting off my head for the PvE and PvP side and how skills, changes, sets, whatever is available to me actually affects the game as a whole. So we're going to skip through overview. That's always not the most exciting section. Through all of that shit. And this is about the PTS. We're going to skip that. We already know about this. We're going to skip that. We've got Battlegrounds. We're going to have a read of that first. So I think that most of the information for Battlegrounds is information that's already been given. Don't quote me on that. Actually, no, it looks like they've given a bit more. So it's now giving you a breakdown of the map. So a lot of you have probably seen some stuff already to do with the Battlegrounds information. But this is saying about the free map. So Voided Quarry is a solid ground and lava pools play a key role in open field. So instantly my Theorycraft tells me that a knockback in there is going to be pretty strong. Like a flame knockback, the Templar spear, that sort of stuff. Because you're going to be able to hit people in the lava and that's probably going to be pretty damn strong. Next one, an ancient Dwemer site recently excavated even, not evacuated. I don't know why I said evacuated. Which offers close quarter battles and tight spaces. I guess that's going to suit builds like Magicka DK that can root you down. However, it's also going to give mobility builds a decent chance because people are going to move around a lot, around corners, and that's going to be pretty strong. One sec. Next one is this overgrown data site still residence in ancient portals. Alright, we don't really get any info here at all. I don't really know. Okay, next one. One of the three game modes will be chosen at random when going into the battleground. Team deathmatch, capture the flag, and domination. So, I don't know if they're going to fix that or not, but it looks like they're going to make it randomized. I guess that's kind of good. It's going to stop people stacking into one. However, since there's a leaderboard system associated with each individual type, it seems a bit weird to do that. I don't know. Anyway, the teams doesn't matter. Nothing interesting there. 15 minutes, max score 500. I like that. I like that it has a max score ending because sometimes in those sort of game styles, you can get one team that's getting annihilated. Preferably not my team. And it looks a bit bad then if the fight is just going on and they are getting fucked. So I think we're going to ignore that bit. You earn medals based on damage and heals. Already knew that bit. Doesn't seem to be a lot of new information here. I think we're just going to ignore this bit. Let's skip through there. Halls of Fabrication. So this is a new trial as far as I'm aware. Yeah, new trial. Let's uncheck these machines. So it looks like a Dwemer sort of trial. It's a 12-man trial with a normal and vet version. Doesn't really say anything there. PvE sets. Unique achievement. Unique skin. Several titles. Alright, nothing too exciting there. New item set. I remember reading through this. It doesn't give you information. New motives. New homes. We're going to skip through all of that. Skip through all of that. New collectibles. Not too interested in that. New dies. New titles. None of that. None of that. None of that. Skill line unlocking. Oh yeah, this one's worth reading for some newer players to the game because I know I have some of those. So it says, newly created characters will now have skill lines hidden except for 3 from their class. The goal being to improve a new player's experience by reducing the number of initial skill choices. As weird as this one sounds, I actually like this change. So what they're basically doing is they're changing it. So when you first make your character, you can't see, for example, the 2-hander skill line until you wear a 2-hander. That sounds a little dodgy because some people may never find a skill line, but actually I think it's pretty good because a lot of new players often message me, how do I do this, how do I do that? I don't know how to unlock, what skills should I pick? I like the way that they help you unlock that in a logical way, so fingers crossed they make that right. Just a small thing, but it's pretty good. Don't really care about that. Oh wait, I do. Early levels now require less experience, while later levels require more. No, that's just normal levels. It doesn't really change anything overall. Master Writ update. He's selling some other shit. I remember reading about this. The target robust Centurion, 51 million health for raid DPS. That's a really nice thing. You missed the CP balancing? I think that's in a bit yet, mate. Cyrodiil rewards. So If you have any Cyrodiil items, shift them. All of those items are now going to be possible to get from reward mails. That is going to rip the price to shreds. So if you have any of those sets, I would suggest shifting them fast. Those sets are going to go down in price. Unless they become absolute meta, then they might go up briefly. But overall, they're definitely going to go down. Bank capacity for ESO Plus. Good shit. I like it. It gives another benefit. I'm using that, so happy days. Miscellaneous buffs. We don't care about this. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. This is just PTS related, so we're going to skip past that. Skip past that. Skip past that. Skip past that. Oh, this is a nice one. Alliance War. Outposts and resources now have a 5-minute cooldown for granting alliance points. They should have done that before. That's the right thing to do. It stops people trading properly. That's what they should have done in the first place rather than nerfing. I like that change a lot. I just wonder if it's like an individual thing or whether you could just move to a different resource and get it. I just don't really know. Cyrodiil Town Banner now has a coloured border representing which alliance is influencing it. Whatever. The Alliance War section, yeah, whatever. No one cares about that either. Art and animation, we're going to skip that. Audio, we're going to skip that. Here we go. So this is where the big changes come in. This is going to be the main section of the video, I guess. So resource recovery changes. Combat in ESO is and has always been about fast-paced action with resource management plays a large part in performing effectively. True enough until you realise that it's not true. Fast-paced, yes. Resource, no, not at the moment. And that's what they're trying to fix here. They're trying to get around so resources actually matter because it's pretty easy to build where it's, you know, generically able to survive. RIP ESO, no, this is an excellent change. It's a fantastic change for the game. You have to make recovery key to the game. Having the ability to mindlessly spam skills is not good for the game. This is an excellent change. I know this change will get a lot of criticism from many people that resource management becomes a key thing. Both from a PvE and a PvP pool perspective, it is a good change. Not even just good, it is an excellent change. There were better ways to implement it. I could name 10 off the top of my head probably, but it's a nice change and I'm going to go through it. So restores based on maximum resource pool. These were always really strong. They were too strong. You could stack like 50k stamina as a stamina decay, use Igneous Shield. You could stack 50k Magicka as a DK, use Battle Roar. Lots and lots of different ones of those. Good change. Needed changing. They changed it so it scales on your level. No idea how that will work out, but they needed to change. Cost reduction recovery passives. I know they've changed that from the CP. Good shit. We'll get back to that. Abilities that cost either too much or too little were adjusted. So this is actually wrong. They've actually lied out their ass on this one. It's a bit dodgy. I'll come on to the skills in a sec, but I think they've just kind of YOLO'd this. Not too much detail. The skills getting buffed that are just not buffable, including ones that I would use, and ones getting nerfed that aren't really needing nerf. I'll go over those in a sec, but there's some weird shit in there. I could definitely do a better job from that, but we'll get there. So, general, this is where some of the sexiest shit in the game comes in. Number one, top dog, is this one here. Reduce the duration of charge snare from 0.75 seconds. Sounds like shit. But from 30%, sorry, to 30% from 60%, less snares, good shit, Zenimax. That's what I like to see. Don't get me wrong, you're still not going to be able to move for crap, but that is a great change. That's what I like to see. It means that you're actually able to move when you're getting constantly gap closed. It's a huge change, a huge benefit. Good shit. Reduce the cooldown for being charged stamina and Magicka to block an attack. Now, that's going to affect a lot of builds in the game. It's going to be a big one, and a lot of people are going to cry. I want you to get past the tears, past the hatred for Zenimax, past the RIP ESO comments, and realize that that is a good change. I play a DK currently that can permablock forever against infinite people. It's pointless. So this change means that I'm going to be losing twice the amount of stamina per second. Let's imagine that your stamina block cost is 1,000, all right? Every 1 second, you could get hit by that twice. So you could get hit on 0.5 seconds and 0.5. For example, light attack, not the ability, and the next light attack. Your overall speed on a skill is about 1.2 seconds. That's just a little more than that, so generally you're not going to reach that. With 0.25, it's going to be more. You're now going to be taking twice as much stamina on your blocking. It's going to change the way a lot of classes play. I think heavy attacks for heavy armor and stamina is going to be an even more relevant factor. But I got to say, I think it is a marvelous change that has been needed for a very long time. It was too easy to block for a long time. It's an excellent change. People are going to spam RIP. People are going to say that's game over. It's not true at all. It stops mindless tanking. So that's a PvP perspective. PvE perspective, I think tanks are going to have to look more at sets that are going to benefit their blocking potentially, unless they're skilled players. I think it's also good from a PvE perspective in that it separates skilled raid groups and good raid groups. There's probably going to be more gear swaps. So let's imagine that I'm tanking a lot of ads. My stamina is going to melt pretty fast no matter how much sturdy I'm wearing. To get around that, I might then have to change potentially. I don't know if it's the case. I don't play a tank or anything in PvE, but I'm just kind of figuring crafting off the top of my head here. From running something like Powerful Assault, Medium Armor set for buff, to heavy Black Rose for extra stamina or whatever, or I have to heavy attack more. I like it. It brings another skill front. It means you just can't hold right click and pray. I like it. This one's another great change. Sneak attacks no longer grant a bonus damage on crit. Goodbye one-shot builds from stealth to a point. They're still going to exist, but I like the change. It makes it a lot less ridiculous. You know when you're in like a 1vx situation and some guy just randomly YOLO snipes you once from stealth and it nearly one-shots you? That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be in the game. I like the way it's changed. It now just guarantees a crit. I think that's a better change. I like it. Especially from a person who knows a Nightblade very well. You can obviously already guarantee the crit from Cloak. So originally people could stealth, Cloak, guarantee a crit, and get the crit buff. That's no longer the case. You'll only get one. So I like that. Raw Dodge now grants a 2-second immunity from immobilizations. That's very good news for Stam Nightblade, particularly against Magicka DK. Magicka DK is going to fill this quite a bit in their talent and roots, but I've been saying it's been needed for a while. I think, again, it's too strong to be able to permanently root. 2 seconds, it's not ages. I wonder how it'll animate, though. I want it to be clear, but I think that's very nice. I think that it's giving it a little more variety in how you can actually avoid damage. I think it was pretty ridiculous when, you know, you didn't have to do anything, really. Stamina abilities are now universally 15% cheaper, originally 20%. Not a huge change. I guess we'll see how that works out. Yeah, it doesn't really matter much. Buffs and debuffs. Minor Magicka still nerfed it down a bit. Good. It was too strong. It's probably still too strong though. 300 is still 600 Magicka regen, but okay. Dragon Knight, here we go. Here's the big shit. So this is the first one of those skills that I've said, why is it being reduced in cost? Inferno, reduce the cost of its ability and its morphs by approximately 33%. So I use it on my Magicka. It cost me about 2.6k Magicka. Why is that being removed by 33%? This is one of the best abilities in the game. It hits so hard. You don't have to cast it often. It's up for a long time. It's burst dot. I don't understand the nerf, the buff on that skill. I know the skill very well. I've used it on most of my Magicka builds. Don't understand why that's buffed, but whatever. Lava Whip reduced the cost of this ability by 10%. I like that. That's pretty well in line with other classes. It was always quite expensive. I feel a little bit bad for Mage Nightblade slowly as their skills get more and more expensive. Battle Roar now scores equal amounts of health, Magicka, and stamina when you use an ultimate ability based on your max resource. I wonder what the max is. So it's a buff if it's under 26 and a nerf if over. Alright, so the interesting thing about that is that although that's going to affect your Magicka management a bit, and you're probably going to be looking at 2 sustain sets similar to the builds that I'm running at the moment, it's actually going to benefit your stam sustain and allow you to keep a slightly lower pool, because when you are popping ultimates you're going to get a lot more stamina back. Because if it's scaling from 26k, let's imagine you were running 15k stam, you're nearly getting twice as much return, so you're going to get a huge amount more stamina there. Health probably not going to change, you don't really feel it anyway because of the battle scaling, but Magicka you're going to feel a nerf. I guess that's 50-50. Helping Hands now restores stamina based on your abilities. This is when you use Irving Heart skills. I believe you got stamina back. It normally was around 5% of your max stam, I think. Something like that. I like that change. People were stacking 50k stam, getting an enormous return. It needed a nerf. Good job, Zenimax. Well done. Igneous Shield. The Major Mending buff on this morph is now tied to your own damage shield. If the damage shield is removed, Major Mending will also be removed. So, good and bad news about this. Good news, Stamina DK needed a huge nerf. Major Mending was a ridiculous aspect in the game. It needed to go. However, they should have replaced it with Minor Mending, in my opinion. I think that it still needs something, because otherwise you have to look at the Stamina DK accessories and think, why do I play this over other classes? That Stamina DK Major Mending is pretty much non-existent. You might be lucky to get it on a rally. I would doubt it. It's a very small shield. You're going to cast it, it's instantly gone. Once that shield goes, I think you should get Minor Mending. It's not as ridiculous as Major Mending. It's still going to give you some heal shit. From a Magic point of view, I think you're still fine. I've never really relied on Major Mending, but from a Stamina DK, that's a pretty big hit. It has been necessary. Stamina DK was way, way, way too strong. Major Mending was way, way, way too strong. I would like to see it as minor mending. Blob's no clue. I have very much a clue about this one. I know very much how the heal scale and how all this scales. The healing from a DK was too strong. And I know some top DKs saying this. Again, there'll be people crying. Like I said, people will cry about this, especially if it's their own class. I understand that. I'm going to accept this video will potentially have the most dislikes of all time. But the reality is that I know some super good stamina DKs. And they have all told me that Major Mending and a Stamina DK is so ridiculous we can pretty much permanently block. And I know this changed to block and all that. We have insane tank ability and yet we still heal for 5 to 6k vigors. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be the case. Major Mending is too strong from a Magicka and stamina point of view. It is too much healing. It needs addressing. I would like it to be minor mending just so you still get something different to other classes. But Major Mending, it was too strong. So I hope that gets changed further into the PTS to minor. I think that'll be the right spot. I guess we'll wait and see. Shadow Cloak. I've already read this, so I'll come on to this. Fixed an issue where the invisibility from this ability as morphs was being broken by numerous abilities, including Reflective Light, Silver Shards, and Burning Talons damage over time effect. Except for one thing. That hasn't fixed Cloak, because there's still 3 things on there that are not fixed. Light attacks from an image, light attacks from a pet, and light attacks from a bow. So image is still, Shadow Cloak is still broken, unless they just randomly forgot to mention the key culprit. Shadow Image is the worst culprit for breaking Cloak in the game. Shadow Image fixed an issue where the pet summoned by this morph was not critically striking based on your spell critical. Yeah, that's not going to be relevant. It doesn't really damage. It's not really used there for damage, but I guess a bit of extra DPS. Alright, these ones are interesting. So I had a pretty big discussion on this. I've even got a forum post on this. And it's not negative or positive. Leeching Strikes. This morph converts the ability into a stamina ability and causes your light and heavy attacks to restore stamina based on your character level. This is going to come down to how much stamina that costs and how much stamina it records, whether it's useful from a magic point of view. It could be very interesting for Magic and Nightblade if it's not too expensive and if it's got good uptime. And if it's not a toggle, because that skill used to be a toggle. That will affect it a lot. We're going to see what happens on that front, I guess. In terms of Stamina Nightblade, I actually don't see much relevance here. I don't honestly believe that it's worth doing it. The reason I don't believe it's worth it is I think generally when you need stamina as a Nightblade is when you're moving away, at which point you're unlikely to be light attacking anyway. So I've never really been a big buyer into siphoning attacks on stamina. I've used it in some tankier builds, but when I'm playing a bow two-hander, personally not my bread and butter. It might be for others, bad luck basically, but I would doubt you were using the Leeching Strike morph anyway, so technically for you guys it's a buff. Siphoning attacks, this is the weird one. Siphoning attacks, this morph now causes your light and heavy attacks to also restore magicka based on your character level. This is a really weird one. Alright. Because when you morph it, it restores health instead of magicka or stamina. The reason that's weird is that it's only doing magicka, but it's not doing the health. So when you morph it, you're losing the healing as far as I can see. That's so weird from my point of perspective. It's like, do you even morph it when, in my opinion, the final morph could potentially be the strongest? It says it only gives magicka. I don't know if it gives health as well. So if you want to sustain magicka, it could be really nice. And actually running siphoning attacks might help significantly with magic and stamina Nightblade. I like playing these two in reverse on the wrong class personally. Apparently when you morph it, you get health and magicka. Okay, so it will also give you the health. Alright, this in my opinion then is a buff to the skill. And a lot of people won't realize why. Although you're going to have to help managing your stamina in other ways, I think you can get around that with tripods, a higher stam pool. Generically, you can do that on other classes. I don't see why not on a Mage Nightblade. Do remember that when it comes to Mage Nightblade, I definitely know what I'm talking about. There's always someone's going to cry about it and say you don't know what you're talking about. I'd like to point out here I have 200 days playtime on a Magic Nightblade. Just throwing that in there. This is a buff and people won't realise why. If you can learn to manage your stamina without this, and it's going to be a big change for Nightblades, you're gaining the next bit. This ability now causes your light and heavy attacks to restore health instead of magical or stamina. That is another heal over time. We're going to be able to stack enough heal over times with that one there. If it is as strong as the other previous siphoning attacks, especially if it's scaling on 26k, to a point where you can just get on with heals and you won't need to use other stuff, that is a great buff. So potentially that could be very powerful. Have to wait and see how it actually plays, but it could be a pretty interesting skill. I like the change, personally. But it's all going to be down to how strong that heal is, because the loss on stamina is a pretty big hit. I guess we wait and see. I don't know. Sorcerer, Dark Magic. This ability and its morphs now have 0.2 seconds of animation blending time at the end of their cast. I don't even know what that means. I honestly don't. Anyone any idea what that even means? I don't know. Probably has no relevance. So, Templar. I don't know much about the Templar class, so I'm going to leave this open to a bit of discussion, but I will go over it. Spirit Shards. This ability now restores stamina or magicka, whichever percentage is lower. I like the way it's a percentage lower. That's pretty good in terms of sustain rather than base lower, because obviously if you have a low pool, it's not that great. I like the percentage lower. It could be really nice. I think I like that change, but I'm undecided. It also has a shared cooldown with the Necrotic Orb synergy. What? Why did they randomly YOLO in a shared cooldown? That doesn't make any sense, but okay. It's based on your character level instead of max resource. That's fine. That's as before, but it's a bit of a weird change. Luminous now also restores an equal amount of magicka or stamina to the casting Templar, so that makes it interesting for sustain for the Templar itself. Why does it have a shared cooldown? That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that. Let's see what they say. Reduce the need to have a Templar constantly feed stamina to your stamina, DPS, and tank while making the spears useful to magicka. I don't know, it's a bit weird. Eclipse. This ability in its morph now lasts for 3.5 seconds, down from 6 seconds, but can... What? Can no... I didn't read this one before. Can no longer be broken with break free. After the effect, enemies will gain CC immunity. What? What is a magicka Nightblade supposed to do? What the fuck? You can completely negate casting. I won't physically be able to cast as a magicka Nightblade, and I can't do shit about it. Not only that, but Eclipse reflects some ultimates, it reflects whip, it's fucked. Well, looks like... looks like Eclipse is going to be appearing a bit in the Zerg groups. What the fuck? That's insane. I don't understand that. Wow. That's pretty brutal. I don't understand that. I really might go to Crushing Shock and rely on siphoning attacks for the heal and play the same build. That's horrible. Oh, Power of the Light. Fix an issue where the damage from this morph could be dodged. So, Purifying Light. Fix an issue where the heal could not critically strike. Wait, I'm confused. Why is it getting buffed? Guys in the stream, is there a nerf for this skill afterwards? I'm confused here. Just confirm to me, guys. Is there a nerf somewhere for this skill? There's no nerf. It's only getting buffed. Why are they buffing Power of the Light? Well, that's absolutely senseless, because that skill is ridiculously overpowered currently. I really don't understand that. Why are they buffing it? I don't even want to comment. I mean, that's so desperately in need of a nerf, so we're just going to pretend we didn't see it. Restoring Light. So this is the passive. It's mending. This passive ability now increases the healing done by 6 to 12%, up from 5 to 10%. So a bit more healing for Templars. We'll see how that balances out with the rest. Repentance. It's a bit reduced sustain for Stamplars. Learn to sustain properly. Bad luck, bitches. Rosomi. This ability in its morphs now health for any targets in a 180-degree cone in front of you, instead of all targets in a radius around you. I like that. I don't think anyone used that, unless that's... Is that the ultimate? Is Rush Time the ultimate or the weird cast time thing that no one used? I don't really know which one that is. Someone have to confirm, because I don't know Templar that well. I don't know which that is. Sacred Ground. This ability now grants minor mending instead of major mending when you're standing in the cleansing ritual. I love it. I love it. No more major mending. Good. Wait. Oh, nice. So they have to actually aim Breath of Life. Good shit. I love it. No more people standing there spamming 360-degree heals. Actually got to apply some degree of skill. Templars have 100% uptime on major mending by just standing within the area's protection than we'd like. I like it. So you got to use more skill. Minor mending, good spot. That's what they should have done with DK. Just make it minor mending. That's the right spot. Minor mending, a good spot. It's still increased healing, makes your class different, but it makes it not ridiculous. Major mending, too strong. Minor mending, good spot. I've been seeing that change for a long time. So weapons. Reverse life, reduce the cost of his ability by 27%. Yep, that doesn't make any sense at all. That skill was in the right spot, but okay. Twin slashes, increase the cost of this ability and its morphs by 60%. Big hit for PvE right there. That's going to hurt PvE a lot. PvP, it's not really going to change much. I think it's mostly a duelist skill more than anything else, and they're going to heavy attack sustain anyway, unless something's changed there. I don't really think you're going to see much change on that front from a PvP, but PvE, that's a pretty nasty hit for stamina, I guess. Don't know how I feel about that one. Rapid fire, just bug fixes. Volley, increase the cost of this morph by 30%. Again, another pretty big PvE hit. I think it's pretty expensive in the first place, to be honest. But it is a huge DPS ability, so maybe it makes sense. Light armor is now a 2-point passive on reduced cost. Just gonna rub my eyes. I must have misread that. Quick rub of the eyes, just double check. There's now a 2-point passive, originally 3 points. That doesn't make any sense. Why are they nerfing light armor? Nobody used light armor. They're always heavy. Whatever. Recovery is now a 3-point passive. 2, 3, 4. It's now 2, 4. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to do that. I don't really know why they're reducing sustain from light armor. Not many people use light armor in the first place. Light armor base skill cost is very high. I understand they want to reduce sustain, but I really don't think that's an intelligent way to do it. Medium armor, Windwalker. This ability now reduces the cost of your stamina bits by 1 to 2, down from 2 to 3. Again, I don't understand that. Heavy armor, Constitution. Reduce the magicka and stamina restored by this passive by approximately 42%. As good as that looks on the table, that actually does not change the problem with heavy armor. So they still have not addressed it. Constitution was strong, but it wasn't ridiculous. That's a pretty hefty nerf to heavy. It is a huge, huge nerf. 42%. That's going to change it from like 186 per point down to about 100, give or take. It's a good change. However, here's the problem. That's not how people sustain in heavy armor. They're heavy attacking. There's no change to heavy attacks. That's what should be changed here. The #1 top dog change that needs to be made to heavy attack. Reduce the resource sustain from heavy attacks. It's too much in heavy armor. You get way too much buff on it, and you can get ridiculous sustain just by heavy attack weaving. Like, as soon as you get low, you just pop a heavy attack. You can get like 6k stamina with the right CP. It's crazy. Needs to be changed. Mystic Orb. So it does the same buff now as Spear Shards. We already knew that. And increase the damage. Who uses damage anyway? Vigor. Increase the cost of this ability by 30%. I like that one. I think Vigor was a bit cheap. It was a bit powerful. I think that's a good change. We'll see how 30% pairs out. Hard to say, but did need changing. Multiplayers can now stack. Rejoice. Stamina players in PvE, it's no longer broken, so you can stack that in your raid. Bit more DPS. Reduce the size of this ability. Don't really see how that has any relevance, but that's fine. Reduce the duration. $12 from 30. What? 12 seconds. I mean, they've reduced the cost by 50%. I guess technically it makes it more viable open world, but it's a bit weird. Oh, actually they've increased the damage of it by 50. What? Increase the damage by 75% and reduce the cost. Oh, I didn't read that last point. My God. Alright, so that's going to be pretty generic in like a normal stand build, I guess. That's going to be really strong. That's really going to be used to open what I think. That's really powerful. 75% more. Jesus, wet. That's going to hit hard. It reduced the duration a lot, so overall it's a damage loss on the skill. But from PvP, that's going to be a lot more viable. Damn. Iconium, resourceful. This now restores health, magic, and stamina based on the character level instead of max resource. I guess it's going to be good for bits and bobs, but not much. Adrenaline Rush, another big nerf there. That's going to affect that a lot. Adrenaline Rush. I think it's time to reroll Bosma, guys. Bad luck. Recovery is going to be weighing over reduced cost anyway, so I think you're going with good old typical routes. Okay, champion system. So, big shit here, guys. Pay attention. Prepare to criticize the haters. I know the haters love a good bit of criticism. This is your opportunity, because I'm going to be honest here. So, they've changed the way the points scale, so the stronger ones are scaling up to a lower maximum. But they're also changing it so that your bases are coming faster. So let's imagine you put 1 point in. That 1 point is going to give you a lot more gain than the next 200 points. All right, so how many points you put in? Obviously not 200. That's a good change in my opinion. I like it because I think originally you were able to stack up a bit too easily into some of the trees. I think that's good. I just want to see how they've decided this, though. Hardy, Elemental Defend, and Quick Recovery, Siphoner, Mooncalf, Arcanist, Health. Why do they put that in Healthy? Tenacity, good change. Tumbling, Blessed. I mean, most of them are pretty good. I don't entirely know why they put Healthy in there. But I don't think anyone used that anyway, but whatever. That's their choice, I guess. Ironclad, Thick Skinned, Bastion, still 25%. That's a bit weird. Warlord, still 25%, but I think that's changed. Elfborn, still 25. That's a PvE thing. Firmatouch, still 25. Precise Strike, still 25. That's going to be pretty strong. I think crit builds might be a little bit more relevant, especially with some changes to crit. I guess we'll see. Expert Defending is light attacks. Sprinter, not that great. Bashing, not that great. Shade, pretty shit. Physical Expert and Staff Expert. So, light attacks and heavy attacks in general are going to be more relevant in this patch, especially on builds that are relying on that. I think it's going to be pretty interesting, but here's where shit gets weird. 55% buff foul. There's going to be some serious heal debuff builds out there. 55% is huge. That is massive change. So, don't know how it's going to work. We're going to see how that works. 5 to 80. I don't think anyone put any in there at the moment too much. But that's a higher max, so it could be more interesting. Resistant, crit resist change gone down a lot on the max. I like it. It was a bit too easy to stack crit resist in there. Good change. None of this is too relevant. None of this is too relevant. The health magic and stamina percentage increase from investing in trees now capped at 20% obtained by reaching 300. I like that. So everyone is going to notice a base resource decline. Your max resource is going to be down a bit. It's going to affect max damage and sustain. That's exactly what the game needs right now. I like that change a lot. To be honest, I would just remove the resource from there completely. I don't understand why it's there. It's really unfair on newer players. But 300 champion points, not too hard to reach. I like the change there a lot, actually. So, Bow Expert renamed to Master Arms. Now increase your damage done with direct attacks instead of increasing your light and heavy attack damage with bows. But direct attacks, is that going to include abilities? Because if so, I mean, what's to stop you just stacking points in there instead of other things? How many points was it max in Master of Arms? Master of Arms 25%. So this is going to be Physical Expert Mark II. I mean, does that not open the ability to use a lot more damage? Read the developer comments. The current attribute increase is 19.88 at... Oh. So you're gaining max resources. Okay. Ignore me, guys. Zeus support another Zeus. We're just going to pretend we never read that. So you're gaining actually a tiny bit more stats. Only a very marginal amount, but now everyone gets more stats. I take it back. That's ridiculous. Should have removed that completely. Main weapon, rename to Physical Expert. Now increase your light and heavy with bows along with all of the other stamina-based abilities. I like that. It gives a bit more variety. Options up, put in some points in different trees. I think that's a good change. It means that when you're sticking a point in one thing, it gives you a slightly better openness. Shadow Tumbling. Now only reduces roll dodge instead of break free. I like that. They need to separate that. And Steed. Now reduces the damage you take from direct damage instead of reducing crowd control. I think it's going to create a really different champion point meta. Already I can see that. I think people are going to spread points around a lot to maximize by spreading it a bit. I think that's always going to outweigh for you. I like that. I think that spreading CP should be a more important thing. I think that's a good change. So I know this one reduces recovery, but it's only for 3 seconds. Pretty low recovery change. I guess we see how easily that is to proc. Hard to say. Wall now reduces cost to break free instead. So that's good. That's how it should be. Makes it a little less easy to stack in. I think that covers all of that. I don't know if there's anything else interesting in here. Oh, there is. I know somewhere there's some set changes. I don't really care much about this. Here it is. Item sets. There we go. That's irrelevant. So reduce the stamina recovery by 50% on Bone Pirate. It's a harsh change, but I think it's necessary. With the new food, Bone Pirate is a little too easy to run. I think it's still a good set, but it's in the right place. Because if you compare it to Hulking Drought, there is no reason to use Hulking Drought over Bone Pirate in almost every build. You are losing 150 regen, scaling with CP, that's going to be about 220, 230. Which is a lot, but I think that that's a relevant change. I think it was a bit too strong with the new food. I think that Bone Pirate should be something you have to select carefully and fit in niche builds rather than just being able to generically shove on. And to be honest, I think it's generically still going to be strong. I think that's a good change. I don't know how they decided on the numbers, whether they just YOLO'd it or whether they tested it, but it's a good change all the same. That's irrelevant. Isomera irrelevant. Phasalas now applies Minor Defile instead of 50%. That's a huge nerf to Phasalas. It's going to go down to 8% or 15% from 50%. That's a massive, massive nerf for Phasalas, but pretty needed one. I mean, a lot of Zerg groups run around with that. It was pretty strong for Zergs, not so strong for individual. I like that a lot. Herkine, increased recovery from that from 12 to 10. It's more of a PvE set. I don't know, maybe we can make it work in PvP at some point. Potentially we actually could now. Actually, I'll be interested in that. I'll take it back. I might be interested to try that next patch with Bone Pirate or something like that. On a build that can get around it. We'll see. PvE-wise, I don't think it's going to be relevant anyway, because your base stats are normally not really high in recovery, so I don't think it's changing much from PvE. But PvP could be an interesting set. It's not a big change, but with the change in general to the game, it could be good. Molokana fixed an issue where overkill from this set would trigger even when you did not perform 2 consecutive light attacks. I didn't know that about that. But reduce the cost of the penalty by 20 to 30%. That's not really going to change much. It is a buff for Kenna, but with the change to base sustain anyway, not going to change much. It might help it be a bit more relevant in PvE, but we'll see. I think the proc sets generally are more damage, so hard to say. Pirate Skeleton. Reduce the proc chance of this item. Zenimax, there's 100 ways to improve this set, and that is just not it. Reduce the proc chance of this item set to 5% from 6%. On a set that is so ridiculously strong and so tanky, they nerfed the proc chance by 1%. No. Plain and simply, no. How would I fix that? I would make it so that the reduction on your healing would also affect the strength of your shields. So when you proc it, you get less shield size as well. At that point, it's less easy to just shield stack and use it. Because at the moment, any shield stack and build Pirate Skeleton is ridiculously strong. It's Magicka Troll King, basically. But hopefully they fix Troll King at least. Alteration Mastery now reduces block, sprint, and bash. Very interesting set. I'll definitely be trying that out. Shork, pretty boring. Sheer Venom, fix an item with this. It's not really going to change anything. A bit more damage. Stygian, no longer increases your spell damage and Magicka by 20%. It just increases your damage done from stealth. We'll see how that fares. I mean, I don't really know how much damage that's going to be higher or lower. We're going to have to wait and see. Hard to say. Swamp Raider. And no one cares about that. Troll King. This. Oh, here we go. This item now procs when you heal a friendly target. This item now procs when you hit a friendly target and then still below 50%, reduced from 60%. That's not the problem, Zenimax. The problem is that once they're under 50, they're immortal. They need to half the health regen, maybe even more. It's too much health regen by miles. They gotta nerf it. That's not a nerf. That's not changing the power at all. No. You don't say we want to reduce its power without changing the value of health recovery granted. You want to reduce its power by changing the health recovery. That's why it's so strong. It's a ridiculous change. Whatever. That's clueless. Worms Raymond, decrease the magic ability cost by to 4% from 5%. Pretty random nerf there. I mean, it's not that strong a set. I'm one of the only people who uses that, but it's a pretty weird change. This needs the Welsh woman voice. Sorry, guys. The reduction to this set and above the Hurricane's veneer will bring the average resource recovery per second closer in line with one another. So I'm imagining that they've forgotten that Lich and Seducer. I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt here and imagining that they've completely forgotten that Lich and Seducer exist in the game. Completely forgotten that. Clearly those sets don't exist in the game. Definitely. There's no Lich, no Seducer. They must have been removed. Not in the comments, but they're clearly removed completely from the game. That must be the reason. Now I understand. I like a lot of these notes. I think we've covered it all now. I like a lot of the notes, especially the CP stuff. Clearly, the logic from whoever did a lot of this notes is... Well, I want to say flawed, but I think that's an underestimate. There's some good changes. There are some very good changes. But I think they've kind of fucked that up. I believe that Major Mending with Igneous Shield should be only applied after you received a percentage health drop. 10% on your health, and after that you can gain Major Mending with a cooldown of 8 seconds. Yeah, I think it's not a bad suggestion. I mean, they needed to rework Major Mending in general for Stamina Decay, Mag Decay, Magplar and things. How they did it to the Stamplar in general is pretty bad. It's not a bad suggestion, Shay. I'm going to leave it at that, guys. So if anyone has any interest on any questions, comment on the video. Make sure you stick a comment down there of anything you'd like to see changed, anything you'd like. If anyone stick a comment in just like RIP ESO, I may generally just hide the comment. We're trying to be constructive here. Clearly ZeniMax needs someone constructive. Maybe I can be their Superman to their Superwoman. Hopefully their Superwoman's, you know, like a good-looking chick. Who knows? Couldn't be as good-looking as Liz, though. Impossible. I don't know. Anyway, I think that we've covered most of that. I'll be working on my builds on my stream, so make sure you tune into my streams to do with preparing for this patch based on changes. I already know a few of them. We're prepared for those. But for the time being, guys, good luck. Best of luck with your builds. And we'll see how this pans out in the future. It's only the first BTS notes. Do remember that. There'll be more changes, so it's not the